Welcome to 40 Days with Jesus. This is day 13 out of our 40-day journey together through the Gospel of John. Today we pick up in John chapter 7. And in John chapter 7, it begins with the idea that Jesus had intentionally stayed away from Judea. And he was spending time in Galilee, away from the capital city of Jerusalem, and where people had experienced a negative taste for Jesus, and at least the Jewish leaders had. And they were out to get Jesus, or wanted to actually take him captive or take his life. They wanted to get rid of Jesus, because they saw Jesus as being a problem for them. And it was about the time of the Feast of the Tabernacles, which happens in the fall of the year, and every good Jew would go to Jerusalem for that. And his brothers, Jesus' half-brothers, or Jesus' brothers, had come to him and said, "Hey, we're getting ready to go to the feast. You need to be going too." And you know, anybody like you who wants to be a public figure would want to go down to Jerusalem and show yourself off, be there as a great new public figure in Jerusalem. And Jesus says, "No, my time has not yet come." Now, this is kind of a strange thing, because Jesus says, "I'm not going. My time has not yet come." He's used this phrase before, and we'll use it again to say that it's not yet time for me to make that move towards the cross, or to present myself as the Messiah, which would lead him to a place where he knew when he was brought up to be Messiah that he would be placed in a place where he was going to die on the cross. And he had ministry that still needed to be done. So his time had not yet come, he says. And the brothers go on without Jesus, which is kind of ironic. As soon as they leave, or right after they leave, it says that Jesus then left and went to the Feast of Tabernacles. And Jesus said, "It's not time." And then as soon as everybody else left, it was time. And I just want to encourage you, because sometimes that happens in our lives. I think for Jesus, probably the Father spoke, and Jesus had determined it wasn't time, but then the Father spoke and said, "Yes, it is time. You need to be going to this, and you need to be making yourself visible here, and continuing to share the truth." Now, again, sometimes this kind of thing will happen in our lives. We'll be determined that God wants us to do something. We've decided, at least for ourselves, or maybe even felt led by God, this is the direction I need to be moving, something I need to do. And then the Father will speak and say, "No, stop. This is not where you need to be. This is not what you need to be doing." And He will stop you and turn you another direction, or a new direction, or just pause you where you are. Sometimes that will happen from God. And there are other times that we will decide that this is something, there's a place that we don't need to be, or things that we don't need to be doing. And sometimes God will say, "Yes, you need to go. You need to go and be a part of this." He has a plan for what He's going to do through our lives, through something that maybe we thought we didn't even need to be a part of. Now, sometimes that will happen. We need to have a good ear for what the Father speaks and hear His voice. And I believe that's probably what happened here. Jesus heard the Father's voice and it's time to go. And Jesus went on to the feast. And while He was at the feast, it says that He began to teach. About halfway through the feast that week, He began to teach in the temple again. And the teaching that Jesus was sharing was just kind of blowing the minds of the Jewish leaders. They even said, how did this man become so educated? How does he know? How does he teach the things that he teaches? We know that he doesn't have the kind of education and learning that we have. And so it was blowing their minds. And Jesus begins to share that this teaching, these things that I share with you, they're not my own. They come from the Father. I receive them from the Father, and I give them to you. And in that process, He goes on to say that you had received so much and you wouldn't accept it. And then He goes on and kind of ends his little statement here by saying, "Why are you trying to kill me?" Again, He's speaking specifically to the Jewish leaders. "Why are you trying to kill me?" And the people heard what He said. The people in the crowd heard what He said. Maybe they didn't really know that the Jewish leaders had an idea to kill Jesus. But the people spoke up and said, "You are demon possessed. Who is trying to kill you?" And Jesus carries on with his what He's talking about here. And He says, "I did one miracle, and you were all astonished or amazed at what happened." And Jesus said, "I did one miracle." And we know from what we've already read that Jesus did more than one miracle, and He did more than one miracle to this point. And what Jesus was referring back to was the time when He was at the temple before, and you remember that the invalid was there, and Jesus healed this man, and then people wanted to know, why did you heal him on the Sabbath? And that created a conflict between Jesus and the Jews. That may be where this conflict that John is sharing with us happened, or was first created between Jesus and the Jews when He healed this man on the Sabbath. And it broke their understanding of God's law, which certainly did not truly break God's law. And Jesus goes on to clarify that here. He says, when Moses gave you circumcision, He said if it happens on the Sabbath, hey, you do it on the Sabbath. It's an act of work, but you do that on the Sabbath. Except for this time, now you're telling me that I want to go and heal this man. You can't do it on the Sabbath. Well, God would much more want to heal the whole body than just perform this act of circumcision. And I was able to heal the whole body. And that creates a conflict, I guess. And so He ends this phrase with, "Stop judging by mere appearances, but judge a righteous judgment." God wants us to know the truth and understand the truth. And we can only make righteous judgments, righteous understandings, the ability to interpret and understand truth. We can only do that when we know God and spend time with God. And these people had decided amongst themselves that they knew what was right, and they weren't spending time seeking and searching from God what truth was. Jesus said, seek that. And I want to encourage you, seek that. Read John chapter 7. Spend some time just saying, God, reveal to me truth. Continue to show me your way, your direction, so that I may make righteous judgments in the things that I do in this life. We all make judgments. And judgments are just making decisions. Every decision we make should be a decision that would be what God would want us to make in life. Again, sometimes things will change. We'll think we know what we're doing. God will give us a new direction. And when we make those judgments or those decisions, God will honor it. And God was honoring Christ even through this process. I want to encourage you, read John chapter 7. See you tomorrow, 40 Days with Jesus.